Dark Cloud is a really long game. Not as long as perhaps Persona 3 or 4, but as action RPGs go, it's hitting double digits. That's why I wanted to give my recent impressions of my 9+ hour playthrough as of recording this video. This isn't the first time I started a playthrough, but it's been a long time since then, so I started a new save file. Why Dark Cloud? Because it was a well-received early entry to the PS2 library. It's a game I remember advertised as a possible Legend of Zelda killer, so it's always been on my games to play list. What is Dark Cloud? Simply put, this game is a mix of ActRaiser's city building with action RPG, dungeoneering in the action segments. Dark Cloud was released in 2001 for the PlayStation 2 in the United States, developed by Level 5, who is now known for Ni no Kuni and the Professor Layton series, among quite a few other titles. The basic premise is that an evil genie is brought back to the world by a power-mad individual who orders the destruction of many villages across the land in a single night. After the main character's village is destroyed, he is chosen by the Fairy King to restore the land and bring the evil genie to justice. According to the Fairy King, the villages and the people were not harmed. They were simply put into floating balls called Alta that are now spread across the levels of each dungeon. Collecting the Alta allows you to reform the villages as you see fit. But in order to gain maximum happiness from its populace, you must win their favor by listening to their needs. In the time I spent playing Dark Cloud, I can't really say I was invested in its story. To be fair though, ActRaiser had a thin plot as well, but had good gameplay to back it up. So let's see what sort of game this is. There are two distinct gameplay modes in Dark Cloud, the town building segment and the action segment. The action segment takes place in a randomly generated dungeon with multiple floors. The objective for each floor is to collect the Alta for the town building, defeat creatures for items, keys, and leveling up, and to get the area-specific item to open the door to the next floor. When I speak of leveling, it is not of your character who levels, but your weapons. As you attack creatures, your weapons gain experience, which allows you to gain better stats and change its experience. By placing spheres and gems into your weapons, they can gain different effects when they're leveled up. Weapons do have their limits as to how far they can level up, but you can break down these weapons to place into other weapons to add their stats. But leveling up might be a hard task if you don't pay attention to the durability bar, which, when decreased to 0, breaks the weapons and you lose that progress. The main character is given at the very beginning an unbreakable knife, so that if you are unfortunate to break one of your weapons, you will always have a backup. But this doesn't mean you won't lose its leveling up progress if its durability is reduced to 0. You can repair your weapons using repair powders dropped by enemies or sold in stores. This isn't the only type of bar you will have to pay attention to. There's also a hydration bar that decreases the longer you stay in a dungeon. If you run out of hydration, you will slowly lose your health until you leave the dungeon or replenish your hydration bar. You can replenish the bar with water bottles from your inventory or by standing in water pools at the foot of waterfalls. The health bar is replenished by eating food or using potions. If you fail to heal yourself and the bar falls to 0, you have two choices. Either you use a stand-in potion, if you have it, to change to another character, or you leave the dungeon and lose 1/2 of your gold. Both the health bar and the hydration bar can be increased by using specific items found in the dungeons. The combat for Dark Cloud uses a Legend of Zelda style lock-on system with regular and charged attacks. The differences come up when you gain multiple characters. There are 6 in total, but so far I only have 3. The main character is all about fast movement and swords. The cat girl is a ranged slingshotter, and the hammer boy is slow. While you might have your favorite and least favorite characters to play, they all have a purpose to help traverse the dungeons. The cat girl can jump over certain pits, the hammer boy uses his hammer to smash switches, and the main character fights in quick time events. These quick time events are sort of like DDR, in the sense they show you the buttons you have to press before you have to press them. If you hit all the buttons in the lighter bars, you pass. If you miss one button press, you'll have to exit the area and try again. These are ways to make the fights a little more cinematic, but these only happen in key areas of the game. If you want to leave a dungeon, you must either exit through the door to the next floor, use an escape rope, or if you don't want 1/2 gold penalty to occur, you have to defeat all the monsters on the floor you are on. The thing to remember is that even if you have opened the door to the next floor, you must go down it so it saves your floor progress. Leaving by teleporting out instead of going through the door will make you have to play that floor again when you return. As you travel through the dungeons, you will collect items to keep you alive or sell for gold. But your pouch has its limits. These limits can be increased using pouches you find. A bar at the top of the screen is your active item bar, where you place items you want quick access to use, or where certain items are auto-used. I only use this bar for curse protections or other protections, as I feel safer to heal in the paused inventory menu. The items in the dungeons can be found in 2 different chests. The red chests are numerous and hold small items, while the brown, bigger chests hold weapons. These chests are also locked, but can be opened with a key or by guessing what type of trap is used on it. If you guess wrong, the trap will be used, but you can guess again now knowing what type of trap it has. Randomly, dungeon floors might have certain effects to them. Most of them are annoying. Some of these are fighting decreases weapon experience, hydration bar decreases quicker, and you can't switch characters from the one they randomly choose. Once you're out of the dungeon, you can replenish your supplies or use the village pieces collected to rebuild a village. You rebuild the villages using the Georama, a menu that allows you to place down the pieces of the village anywhere you can. When you have a building, you will notice that there are slots that are empty. Filling these slots with appropriate characters and items will lead to more complete and happier village. Asking the villagers questions will clear up the question mark slots and give you clues to where they would like their homes to be placed around the village. The preferences will be like, one guy likes to fish, so put him near a pond. Or a woman hates macho men, so place her house far away from their house. As you place these buildings with their items and their people's wishes, you will see red chests around and in these buildings for you to open up. And once a building is fully upgraded, they will alert you to an event that can occur when you visit that building. Villages will also have fishing ponds where you can fish using various bait found within dungeons and chests. Personally, I suck at fishing in this game. It's a catch and release game, and you gain points for certain weights that can be traded for items. The game looks pretty good for an early PlayStation 2 title. The aesthetic keeps it from looking too outdated with a semi-cartoony color palette, which gives the game a certain style. But the issue is that in a randomly generated dungeon with one theme per dungeon, every level starts to look the same, and since all the dungeons are based off the same sort of layout, you will be playing the same types of dungeons over and over again for 50+ hours, just with different themes. This of course is a trope of the dungeon crawler, so if you can get past that fact, you'll be fine. The music is nice with several different styles, but you might get tired of the music after a while, until you get to a new area. But considering it took me 7 hours to get to the second village, you'll have to get used to the same music playing over and over for hours. This is what led me to listening to podcasts and watching/listening to videos on YouTube. It kinda starts getting old after a while. While I put nearly 10 hours into playing Dark Cloud, it wasn't without the assistance of podcasting and YouTube to keep me entertained. Why? Because while it has interesting gameplay ideas like the town building from ActRaiser, the dungeon crawling from old RPGs, and the action-adventure of a Zelda game, it doesn't quite excel in any to keep me interested for its 50+ hour campaign. In Persona 4, I was drawn into the story to keep fighting through the generated dungeons, and in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, the varied dungeons with different puzzles and enemies kept me engaged. With Dark Cloud, it seems that so far each dungeon and village is nearly the same, with just aesthetic differences to change up the look. But unlike Ocarina of Time, there's barely anything to change up the gameplay. And that's why I don't think I'll put much more time into Dark Cloud as of right now. I really wanted to get into this game and really love it, as it was highly praised back in 2001. But maybe Persona 3 and 4 spoiled that, and I just have a hard time keeping myself interested. Overall, I think there are much better games out there nowadays that have more gripping storylines and better gameplay. Even the sequel Dark Cloud 2 looks a little bit more interesting from what I've seen. Maybe in the future I might cover that. But if what you have seen and heard has interested you to check the game out, then do so. PriceCharting.com has the current price in box for around $14 online. a loose copy for around $9, and a sealed copy for $40. A link will be in the description for listings. Thanks for watching. Any feedback on this video or any of my other videos would be appreciated. If you'd like to get in contact with me, message me on YouTube or Twitter. And if you want to see my previous work or my last reviews, click the links provided.